All right, Mr. Vice Chair, we're ready when you are.
Okay, thank you. You guys got your cameras, why don't you turn them on if you could, so we can see everybody's pretty faces this afternoon. I'd like to call to order this emergency meeting of the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners on Saturday, May 20th. It is 3:36 p.m. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place cell phones and beepers in a silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. The board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for consideration, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions on comments by the general public. Any such restrictions must be reasonable and may restrict the time, place, and manner of the comments, but may not restrict comments based upon viewpoint. So roll call, I believe Commissioner Hendricks and Commissioner Keller on Zoom and Commissioner Hockaday on the phone. And I am here on Zoom too, so we have a quorum. Andrew, since you're in the room with the flag, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
United States of America,
Republic, for which it
stands one nation, indivisible, with justice for all. Okay, thank you. All right, public participation. At this time, I'll open the meeting for public participation. It is anticipated that public participation will be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda action item, but before the board takes any action. Afterwards, please print your name at the clerk's desk. Is there any public participation at this time?
None in chambers.
I don't see any on Zoom either, so we will close public participation and move to item 4 for possible agenda review and adoption of the agenda. Is there any discussion? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Keller, a second by Commissioner Hendricks. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Moving on to item 5. Item 5A for possible action, direct the county manager to take emergency protection measures to reinforce the banks of the Walker River on private property to protect the life, health, and safety of residents pursuant to emergency power under NRS Chapter 414 and Lyon County Code Title 3, Chapter 3, and the Lyon County Emergency Operations Plan and the declaration of emergency declared for flooding on May 18th, 2023. Mr. County Manager.
Thank you, Andrew Haskin, County Manager for the record. Yeah, so this is in response to a situation on the Walker River that we're seeing right now with the higher flows. There's a section of the river that between Bridge Street and Goldfield and a little bit south of Bridge Street that have some low spots in the banks that we're really only maybe a foot away from overtopping currently. But we're only operating at about, the river's only operating about 2,400 CFS right now. Now, we did receive some good news yesterday in that the River Forecast Center downgraded some of their peak flow estimates, but that's still 3,900 CFS. So we're still looking at almost over 1,500 CFS more than where we're at currently for the peaks. Now, they've also slowed it down a little bit so that we will likely start to, because of the cloud cover that we're experiencing from thunderstorms, it'll likely be a few days later than we had originally anticipated. So we're looking at sometime late next weekend, or the following week. So anyway, we would like to take some emergency actions to shore up the banks there. And it's on private property. We've spoken to the private property owners, they're hesitant because of liability reasons, and so they don't want to take that on themselves. We have some authority under our emergency, under the emergency powers and our emergency declaration and NRS, to go in and do that because it's a life safety issue. And so, I guess for some background, we feel that there's a strong possibility that if the river were to breach the banks there, that it would flood Yerington pretty significantly. The Yerington happens to be in a low spot. There's a drain that runs, irrigation drain that runs kind of towards town, and so it's a major concern for us. So we want to try and take the steps to prevent that. Again, there's still, as with anything like this, there's no guarantees. The river could breach in another spot. That's why I did leave the agenda item kind of broad rather than just focusing on that specific area in case something else pops up. Under NRS 414 110, there is an immunity clause, and I'll let the district attorney, if he doesn't mind, speak a little bit to that. Mr. Rye is here with me and but I think this is the action that we need to take right now. I've had a conversation with David Perry and Sons, and they are willing to work with us to provide the labor and materials to do this. And so that's where we're at the moment. As soon as we're done with this meeting, we'll get the green light. It's going to take a bit to get materials and equipment over there. So likely sometime tomorrow we would start work on it. But we didn't want to wait until the flows were high. Once it breaches, there's not much we can do to fix it. And so we don't want to wait for that. So that's where we're at. I'll turn it over to the district attorney here real quick, or do you want to say just a few words? And
yeah, I say a few things. Steve Rye, district attorney. Yeah, I think the county manager summarized things pretty well. I know that Taylor and the county manager have been meeting with the Bert Bryan at the irrigation district and property owners and others, evaluating alternatives to try to mitigate the possible threat to Yerington. The concern with Yerington obviously is there's a number of houses, but there's also the hospital, senior assisted living facility, all the county operations, the jail. There's the irrigation district center. All their operations come out of the city. There's a sewer treatment plant, which is threatened if there's a breach in this area that the county manager is talking about today. There's some wells and water. I don't know what you call it, but the water system would also be threatened potentially. So there could be some significant long-term effects. So what the irrigation district's done, I think, in conjunction with Taylor and Andrew, is kind of go through scenarios and try to figure out what would be the best mitigation short term. And then obviously that'll be monitored over the next several weeks as the river levels fluctuate. But short term, I think the decision's been made that these mitigation measures are the best option for the county to try to mitigate any flooding in the city of Yerington, to maintain these critical resources and infrastructure and protect the largest number of lives and property by taking these measures. The reason it was done so quickly is, as Andrew talked about, and I'll let Bert with the irrigation district probably provide more details, but with the river levels where they are, the work needs to be done now. Because if it does breach, it's very difficult to do that work. And so it wasn't possible to wait till early next week or something to schedule the meeting. That's why it was done quickly. Everybody's working but fast paced to get it done before there's any problems. Otherwise, I think it'll be much more difficult. And then Andrew did talk about some things. This is all done under the emergency powers. And we believe it fits within the declaration the board made on May 18th, where you declared an emergency because of the flooding that's occurring now and likely to occur in the next 2 months. And so this would fit under that power and under chapter 414. the emergency operations plan and the county code. So we're asking for the board to consider Andrew's request today and authorize that. And I think maybe, Bert, did you want to say a few words about what this would mean possibly and what might happen if it's not done?
Yeah, Bert Bryant, General Manager for Walker River Irrigation District. Based on our current forecast and the situation at hand right now, the River Forecast Center has kind of indicated that we are going to start to see peaks in the upper valleys, Bridgeport, Antelope Valley, Sunday. So that's usually a 2-day lead time in order for those waters to get into Mason Valley to the Snyder Gauge and in toward Yarrington here. Right now, the flows, as Andrew had mentioned, are roughly around 2,400. We do see that there are some areas that are very close to seeing some breach at this point. So, you know, in conjunction with working with Perry and Sons and our staff and the county staff and stuff like that, the hope is to get started as early as tomorrow, potentially, and then continuing to try to get everything wrapped up within a day or two so that everything is stable, and that would hopefully be enough lead time before those excess flows tend to get to the Snyder Lane Bridge area, and then we can mitigate or offset any of those potential issues that could happen. With the current location and areas of concern, the state highways, both at Bridge Street and Goldfield, could act as a dike, and in either one of the case scenarios would potentially impact the community to the west. And as they would continue north of the low spots around the the city water treatment facility area around the airport and all that stuff. So if we can mitigate that, keep everything in the channel, we should be in a much better position than we currently are. So that's all I have, unless the board or anybody has any questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rye. Does any of the members of the commission have any questions?
I think
Comments?
something else, and then I got one more thing I'd like to add to.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring to the board's attention. I mean, one of the issues obviously that comes up when you're doing this stuff is, will it affect any of the other property owners downstream, upstream, whatever? And, you know, I think the answer to that is probably yes, but that's been weighed by the irrigation district and the county manager in evaluating what's the best scenario. It is possible that there could be some issues upstream or downstream with these changes, although it does not seem that those would be significant. But I just want to bring that to the board's attention. I think the board knows that, but it's not like this fix does not affect anybody else on the system. It could, and the board needs to be aware of that. But in balancing things out, I believe the county manager, in conjunction with Taylor and others, has made the decision that this would be the best course of action for the county to protect the most people and provide the most benefit at this point.
Thank you.
Paskin again for the record. So one of the things, and District Attorney Rye did touch on it a little bit, but one of our larger concerns is the wastewater treatment plant here in Yarrington, and protecting that. If that gets inundated, even if houses or buildings aren't affected by flood water, they will be affected by that. And since the flows are expected to last for 5 to 7 weeks, and with really no way to fix the problem after it happens, we could be potentially seeing a situation where people wouldn't have water or sewer for a few months, because it would likely take some time after that to fix it. That affects all the county operations, because we can't have employees in the county building without running water or sewer, and that affects the jail operations as well, because we can't have a situation where the jail is without running water and sewer. And so then we would potentially be looking at having to relocate all of that if that were to happen. So I do want to stress that is another concern. I mean, obviously life, health, and safety is our primary concern, but making sure that we're protecting that critical infrastructure is really important.
Yes, thank you. And I've told you several times, I will never diss on you for being proactive. Yeah, I appreciate the way that you take action ahead of time and get us prepared. So, Commissioner Hockaday, do you have anything?
No, I don't, I don't have, I don't have anything.
Commissioner Keller,
No, I'm good.
Commissioner Hendricks?
No,
Okay, then I'd be happy to take a motion.
Make a motion
Oh,
to,
oh. Let me ask for public comment first. I got ahead of myself. Is there any public comment on this? Okay, seeing that now, Commissioner Keller,
make a motion to approve it as corrected, I mean, as presented.
and is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Keller, a second by Commissioner Hendricks. We've done public comment, so all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. Move on to item 6, public participation. Again, same rules. Is there any public participation in chambers?
None in chambers.
Any online?
I don't see any online.
Do we have a closed session?
No closed session.
This meeting is adjourned at 3:52. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.